Magandang hapon, ako si Ralph Rivas at ito ang Rappler Talk. Ngayong linggo ay naglabas ng maraming numero ang Philippine Statistics Authority. Nariyan ang GDP, inflation, agricultural output, trade data at kung ano-ano pa. Hilo na ba tayo sa mga numero? At nariyan pa, syempre, yung pagtalakay ng Kamara sa Train 2, kung saan maraming mga agam-agam ang iba't ibang sektor. Tatalakayin natin lahat yan. Susubukan kong himay-himayin kasama sina JC Punong Bayan, ang ating Rappler columnist, at PhD candidate mula sa UP School of Economics. Kasama rin natin si AJ Montesa, researcher ng Action for Economic Reforms. Magandang hapon sa inyo.
Magandang hapon, Ralph.
Okay, so sige, buksan natin yung usapan dito sa GDP, 6%. Una sa lahat, ano ba yung GDP, JC? Para lang sa information ng lahat.
Oo, so yung GDP, ito yung, sinusukat ito yung kabuuang halaga ng lahat ng produkto at serbisyo na binubuo o pinoproduce sa isang economy sa loob ng isang taon. At nakita natin na lumabas nga na ang latest na data, sinasabi na 6% ang paglaki ng GDP. Ibig sabihin, yung kita ng bansa natin ay lumaki ng 6%. So, compared to last year. So yung second quarter ng 2018 compared to second quarter of 2017, lumaki ng 6%. Ngayon, kung titingnan natin yung datos, yung graph, makikita na medyo bumababa itong ating GDP growth rate at medyo nakakabahala ito kasi kumpara doon sa target na itinakda ng economic managers na 7 to 8% for 2018 ay parang papalayo tayo ng papalayo doon sa target nila na parang lumilihis tayo ng landas.
So, 6%, ano masasabi mo doon? Maganda ba yung numero na yun or is that enough?
Well, I think that number is still good. Actually, we've been growing above 5% for the past 25 quarters and above 6% for the past 13 quarters. So, it's important na ituloy pa rin natin yung above 6% na GDP growth. Pero I think yung mas relevant for Filipinos is tingnan natin yung GDP per capita, which is i-divide natin yung kabuuang GDP by the population para mas makikita natin yung income per person.
Okay.
And basically, if you take the GDP growth and subtract the population growth, makukuha mo yung GDP per capita growth, which in the second quarter is around 4.3%.
So, anong ibig sabihin ng 4.3?
Ayan, so 4.3% means that on average, every Filipino's income is growing by 4.3%, or at least in the second quarter, yun yung paglaki niya. It's also down from the first quarter na 5.1% yung paglaki ng GDP per capita.
Oh, so anong ibig sabihin nun nung bumaba ng previous quarter?
Yan, actually, ayoko namang i-undersell yung ibig sabihin ng pagbaba nito because if yung growth natin was 5%, for example, madodoble yung income natin, yung GDP per capita natin in 14 years. Pero sa ngayon, kung 4% lang siya, it'll take 18 years to double that. So, yung growth natin, if it's slower, it'll hurt our chances na ma-meet natin yung goal natin of becoming an upper middle income economy. However, since nasa 4.3% naman yung GDP per capita growth natin, that's still within target and we'd still reach the upper middle income status by 2020 if not 2019.
Nagigauge ba yan kung pantay-pantay paano ba to? Yung naramdaman ba equally ng mga Pilipino yung paglagong yan?
Of course, definitely not. Yung per capita, measure lang siya ng overall or average picture ng ekonomiya. Actually, better pa rin na we rely on yung mga income and expenditure survey like yung FIES na ginagawa every 3 years. But one way to gauge that, to gauge yung growth natin and how it affects yung poorest of the poor, for example, is tingnan natin yung poverty rate. So this year, dapat magkakaroon tayo ng FIES or yung income and expenditure survey. Malalaman natin kung ano yung poverty rate. Pero for the past few years, pababa po yung poverty rate natin. In 2015, it was just 21.59. In 2012, it was as high as 25%. So we can see na optimistic pa rin yung trend natin. If we continue this growth, if we continue to sustain a 4.5% growth in GDP per capita, we can expect that it'll spill over to the poorest of the poor.
Although actually, kailangan din natin, isa pang paraan para tingnan yung effect ng economic growth sa mahirap ay yung tinatawag na growth incidence curves.
Yes.
At actually, hindi masyado itong nabibigyan ng pansin, pero kung tingnan natin yung FIES mula 2003 hanggang 2009, at least for the existing data, actually makikita natin na medyo mas mataas yung growth ng incomes ng mahihirap. So, compared sa middle class, for example, ang pinag-usapan natin yung mahahabang panahon, hindi yung mga quarter by quarter, ganun, kundi taon ang binibilang natin. At medyo encouraging ito, pero syempre importante din yung short run effect ng growth na kailangan, I mean, yun nga,
I-sustain siya.
i-sustain siya eh, na especially ngayon na ang taas ng inflation rate, parang mahirap makita ng mga ordinaryong tao yung epekto ng growth kung ang taas ng pagtaas, ang bilis ng pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin.
Okay. So, nasa press conference ako kahapon, no, at sabi ni Social Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia, yung mga polisiya daw, tulad ng pagpapasara sa Boracay, yung sa mining, pati yung, yun muna yung mga policies na yun, yung mga talagang nag-contribute sa slowdown ng ekonomiya. Halimbawa, yung sa Boracay, it has something to do with trade na rin. So, anong sa tingin yung naniniwala ba kayo na yung kaliit-liit na isla ng Boracay ay ganun kalaki yung epekto sa ekonomiya ng bansa?
Siguro for me, basing sa supply side data natin, you can see na yung growth natin has been driven by services and industry. I think the main reason talaga na bumaba ng onte yung growth rate natin as compared to the first quarter is nag-stagnate talaga yung agriculture. I would say that agriculture has been stagnating, and maraming factors dito which even feed into the inflationary pressure. Yung rice management natin has a lot left to be desired. There's a lot of corruption and smuggling still happening in the NFA, and even yung rice production natin, pababa po siya. And even in the fisheries, for example, maraming issues na lumalabas ngayon. Nandyan yung pagtaas ng presyo ng gasolina, nandyan yung overfishing na years ago pa nagkaka-epekto na ngayon. Of course, nandyan yung pollution and global warming, and yung existing na threat of conflict sa West Philippine Sea. So you can see na that's one of the reasons na bumababa yung production on the agricultural side. And I think that's one of the major reasons kung bakit bumaba yung growth rate natin this quarter.
Okay, interesting yung agriculture sector na yan, no? Kasi nung sabi ni Secretary Manny Piñol, yung 2017 budget nila, over 99% yung paggamit nila ng pera, which is very, very
Right.
impressive. Kaya nga humihingi sila ng mas mataas na budget. I think before 124 billion yung hinihingi. Pero actually tinapyasan pa yon. Like they only got less than half of what they asked for. So tapos sinasabi niya ngayon na parang isa to sa mga dahilan kung bakit mabagal yung agricultural growth. So sa tingin niyo ba nasusuportahan ng sapat yung agrikultura ng gobyerno?
Well, ako, ang personal na nabasa ko is it's not just about the budget na nilalaan every year sa Department of Agriculture, pero there needs to be structural reforms in the way that we handle yung resources natin. Rice is a very good example. We're not very competitive pagdating sa rice, no? And pinipilit pa rin na maging self-sufficient tayo even though we're not as competitive. Actually, one of the things that we support is the removal of the quantitative restriction and instead, impose a tariff, and you can use that fund to help the farmers become more competitive, develop technology that will make us, kasi lugi tayo compared sa Vietnam, compared sa Thailand, mas dinadaan na tayo ng mga bagyo. So, lugi talaga tayo, and imposing a tariff rather than a quota would, by our estimates, would reduce the cost by 7 pesos for consumers of rice in the country.
Tsaka yung rice tarification, actually, isa din to sa mga paraan na nakikita nila na para hindi na natin kailangan mag-angkat through the NFA.
Right.
Kasi for the longest time, ang rice policy ng Pilipinas ay ang NFA ay may monopoly ng pag-import ng rice. So kumbaga siyang nagdidikta ng pag-angkat natin ng bigas. At maraming pagkakataon na sumusobra or nagkukulang yung kanilang ini-import. Kaya nagkakaroon ng mga imbalances sa pagdating sa supply ng bigas, at kaakibat nun ay yung mataas na pagbabago ng presyo. Kaya maganda yung rice tarification in that sense na parang tinatanggal mo sa gobyerno yung malaking responsibilidad sa bigas at binibigay mo sa pribadong sektor.
Okay. So I wanna go back doon sa Boracay at mining.
Yes.
Kumbinsido ba kayo sa sinabi ni Secretary Pernia?
Well, yung sa Boracay, actually, nakakatawa nga kasi sinasabi nung economic managers na parang gina-justify nila yung ganong klaseng policy. Whereas, actually hindi yung sabihin na malaking epekto din nun kasi hindi lang naman yung mga taong nawala ng trabaho at kita no sa mismong isla ng Boracay, kundi pati, for example, yung mga airline na nagdadala ng mga turista, tapos yung mga bangka, tapos yung mga restaurant, yung kumbaga lahat ng sektor na nakapalibot dun sa isla ng Boracay. So, ang laki ng ripple effect nung paggalaw nila ng ekonomiya ng maliit na isla na yun.
On mining and quarrying, if you look at the national income accounts, yung sector na yun, it actually shrank. Nasa 10.9% na negative yung pag-shrink niya. So I think may substance yung sinabi ni Secretary Pernia na mining and quarrying did contribute to the down trend in the growth rate relative to the first quarter.
So yung conversation ba dapat parang para maprotektahan natin ang environment ay talo tayo sa ekonomiya? Ganun ba dapat yung mindset? Or hindi ba pwedeng magsabay yun?
Merong mga pag-aaral na nagsasabi na kailangan tiisin muna natin yung konting pollution, ganyan, bago tayo umunlad. Tapos saka na lang, after a certain income level, saka na lang natin mapapabuti yung kalidad ng environment. Pero, hindi...
Yun? Wait,
Yeah.
paano yun na parang titiisin natin yung, hindi na ba tayo polluted as it is?
Hindi, isang teorya lang yan.
Okay.
Hindi yan,
On the flip side naman, yung GDP, it doesn't measure a lot of things like yung environmental degradation or yung human rights violations na nangyayari because of the mining, hindi pumapasok yun sa GDP. GDP only measures yung value ng output ng sektor. Pero yung negative effects niya, it could very well be offset, 'di ba? It could very well offset the positive effect of the mining and quarrying sector. So, on our part, we really believe that you have to make sure that you can tax the mining industry at least commensurate to the cost that they impose to society, sa environment, sa human rights, and other things.
Okay, so nabanggit natin kanina yung tungkol sa inflation naman. July 5.7. Ano masasabi niyo doon?
5.7 ay lagpas yan dun sa target na itinakda ng economic managers. Again, kanina yung GDP growth, sinabi natin na hindi rin na-meet yung target. So pagdating sa inflation, hindi rin natin na-meet yung target. Kasi ang target ng gobyerno ay between 2 to 4% lang, pero ngayon nasa 5.7% tayo. Tapos ang trend, kung titingnan mo yung datos ulit, parang pataas ng pataas, parang hindi siya tumitigil sa pag-breach dun sa upper target na 4%. Kaya medyo maraming nababahala na bakit ang tagal nang nangyari to, 7 consecutive months na ng pagtaas ng inflation rate. And yet parang sa dami ng proposals, ganyan, parang hindi pa rin siya naiibsan.
Okay, so I think my next question I hopefully won't get you into much trouble kasi yung ano ba to? GDP is 6% tapos 5.7 inflation. Pwede pa bang ma-justify yung inflation because of growth?
Well, I think there are different kinds of inflation that we have to talk about. There's inflation that's consumption-driven or demand pull, but there's inflation that's cost-push. So yung inflation na nararanasan natin ngayon, it's really because of a lot of global factors like the price of crude oil in the world market, yung depreciation ng peso. That's not something that we can control directly. And I'd like to say din naman that we're not at a point of, for example, Venezuela na nasa 10,000 yung inflation rate nila. So what our economic managers really have to do is drill down to what the causes of inflation are. If you look at the data, yung inflation natin is driven by vegetables, by fish, by rice. So agriculture ulit yung problema na nakikita natin. Aside from the may kinalaman yung tax reform, the government has to address these issues, make rice cheaper, for example, for our consumers. Kasi yun yung mga produkto na kinukonsumo talaga ng mga mahihirap.
Okay, so balikan lang natin. Can you guys define for our audience yung supply and demand, yung mga push na binanggit nyo kanina?
Okay, so demand pull inflation is tumataas yung presyo dahil yung mga consumer ay mas gumagastos. Kapag mas gumagastos sila, tumataas yung demand, tataas din po yung presyo. So it's because there's a demand pulling the prices up. But cost push, on the other hand, is if you have input
Ito yung nangyayari
costs.
ngayon.
Yes. Widespread, for example, like gasoline or the cost of labor, if they increase, it can affect the whole economy.
Yeah, tsaka yung weak peso din.
Right. So, the weak peso means that for imports, it will become more expensive. Mas mahal po yung pagbili natin ng produkto galing sa world market. So, lahat ito in confluence together, they work together to push prices up. So, cost push.
Ngayon, ang importante yung distinction na yun kasi for example, dun sa pagtaas ng interest rates ng Bangko Sentral ay hindi masyado siyang effective kung ang sanhi ng inflation ay cost push. Kumbaga tinaasan natin interest rates, ang maapektuhan nun ay yung demand ng tao sa mga produkto at serbisyo, hindi yung cost ng crude sa international market, hindi yung weak pesos, kundi so ganun, iba yung epekto niya. So, bukod dun, yung epekto ng pagtaas ng interest rates ay meron ding lag yan. May policy lag yan na sinasabi ng ibang pag-aaral nasa 12 to 15 months. So pag tinaasan natin interest rates ngayon, hindi agad yan mararamdaman yung epekto until after siguro next year. So, ganun.
So, ito kasi yung market expectations, parang, or actually, we can call it pressure na rin, no? Na 50 basis points yung gusto ng market na i-implement ng BSP. At ginawa nga nila yun. Pero yung sinasabi niyo ngayon, parang hindi naman solusyon pala sa inflation yun. Or parang sa, parang, ba't pa ginawa ng BSP yun?
It's more of inflation expectations management. Kumbaga, isa yung paraan para ipakita sa mga tao na yung gobyerno meron siyang ginagawa para ibsan yung inflation. Kasi meron naman talaga siyang epekto. Yun lang, hindi lang agad-agad mararamdaman. At in fact, in other countries, ganun din naman ang nangyari sa monetary policy. Meron talaga siyang lag.
The tricky thing with inflation is there's this concept of self-fulfilling prophecies, right? If consumers...
Papakipaliwanag muna sa audience natin.
Kumbaga,
kung
if
paano
yung mga consumers po natin, ang expectation po nila is tataas pa lalo yung inflation, mas may tendency sila na bumili na ng produkto ngayon, i-hoard yun, kasi alam nila mas mababa yung presyo ngayon kaysa sa next month or next year. And ang tendency nun is kung bumili sila ng bumili, it feeds sa demand pull inflation. So yung inflation, pataas siya na pataas based on our expectations. The reason, for example, that BSP did the raising of the policy rates is to temper those expectations, to send a credible message that they're on top of the inflation and to show investors and consumers that we're managing our inflation.
Although meron din nasasabi na parang medyo nahuli na
Right.
yung pagtaas ng interest rates. Kasi for example, ikumpara mo sa US, merong mahabang panahon after nung financial crisis na halos zero na yung interest rates nila. Pero simula 2016 ay pataas yun ng pataas. At ang nangyari doon ay pagpataas ng pataas yung interest rate sa US ay nag-attract ito ng investments. So kumbaga yung mga investors sa Pilipinas rather than mag-invest dito ay dadalhin nila yung kanilang pondo sa US. At merong epekto yun sa palitan ng piso sa ng dolyar. So kumbaga parang meron din ganung nagsasabi na parang nahuli na tayo, we're behind the curve sabi nila.
Okay, so still on inflation, isa sa mga sinisisi dito ay yung unang package ng train law. So, ikaw sa AAR, anong posisyon nyo dito?
Well, if you think about it, yung effect ng train law was just a transitory issue because the one-time imposition of the excise tax on fuel and other products, isang beses lang naman siya ginawa at the start of the year. Pero yung pagtaas ng presyo tuloy-tuloy siya because of the continuing increase in the price of crude in the world market. So, a lot of people are calling for the suspension of train. And I think unnecessary yun. First, because in the law, sa batas ng train, meron ng provision doon na kapag nag-average ng $80 per barrel yung crudo for 3 months, automatic, hindi na itataas yung presyo for the next tranche of train. So, isa yun. Secondly, kahit tanggalin natin yung fuel excise tax, it's just a small percentage of the inflation. Mas mataas talaga yung epekto ng global crude price on continuing inflation.
Okay, tapos meron pang mga agam-agam or parang pangamba sa package 2 naman. Yung package 2 ay trabaho na yung tawag nila. Parang nirepackage nila to in a way
Jobs.
manage the image. Kasi nga pag sinabing train, mga buwis na naman yan. Pero yung layunin kasi ng train 2 ay ipababain yung corporate income tax tapos i-rationalize yung mga fiscal incentives. Pero sinasabi naman ng mga iba't ibang sektor, halimbawa sa ospital, eskwelahan, renewable energy, pati yung mga major promotion investment agencies, wary sa mga epekto nito tulad ng inflation pa raw. Parang kahit na, inflation, tsaka mag-aalisan yung mga investors. So, anything that you'd like to say?
Maganda yung point na sinabi mo una was that Train 1 and Train 2 are very different. Yung Train 1 had to do more with excess taxes, personal income taxes on consumers or citizens. But yung Train 2 or yung trabaho has more to do with corporations and firms. And mainly two main parts siya. The first is yung pagbaba ng corporate income tax. That's to make us more competitive sa ASEAN countries. Kasalukuyan kasi yung tax rate natin nasa 30%, pero yung mga neighbors natin like Vietnam and Thailand, nasa 20% or 25% ang yung tax rate nila. So, mahirapan tayong mag-compete yung businesses natin sa kanila if masyadong mataas yung corporate income tax natin. But on the flip side, meron din tayong rationalizing of fiscal incentives. And the reason we're doing that is actually 20 years long overdue na reform na ito. Since 1990s pa dapat na reform siya because currently we're giving incentives to firms as part of to increase investments. The problem is hindi siya time-bound, so may mga firms na forever nakakatanggap ng incentives kahit mayaman na sila. Pangalawa, hindi siya strategic. So hindi siya in line with our developmental plan. So for example, one of the things that we studied was, ano bang klaseng firms dapat yung binibigyan ng incentives? Yung mga efficiency seeking lang o yung mga firms na kailangan ipababa talaga yung cost. But there are firms na resource seeking, for example, mining. hindi naman sila pupunta dito dahil mababa yung cost, pero alam nila kasi nandito yung mga mineral. So hindi mo na kailangan sila bigyan ng incentives. Pangalawa is yung market seeking. So if they know that the market is here, if they have a labor market here, they don't need the incentives. And what the bill is trying to do is it's trying to target yung incentives dun sa mga firms na strategic for our development and sa mga exporters and footloose industries. Yeah.
Okay. So, eto something about timing. Meron tayong tanong mula sa social media. Should the government pursue its tax reform plan at this time? Kasi halimbawa, may mga lumulutang din before na train 1, bad timing. Tapos, what happens if you don't pursue it now?
Okay. Well, a good analogy for that is, personal analogy is like exercising, di ba? Every day you get up in the morning, gusto mo mag-exercise. Pero if you wait 20 years before you do that, you say, every day when you wake up, you say, bukas na lang, bukas na lang, bukas na lang. In 20 years' time, you will regret the fact na hindi ka nag-exercise every day. Yung tax reform, yung package 1, yung package 2, 20 years na natin siya pinag-uusapan na kailangan talaga siya gawin because it's a structural reform. Hindi lang siya pagtaas o pagbaba ng tax, but the structure of the tax system to make it fairer and more efficient. So, regardless of the timing, I think now is the time to pass a tax reform. But that doesn't mean that the government should not address pressing concerns like inflation. The government should definitely be alarmed by the increasing inflation, but should target yung mga solutions that will really hit the inflationary causes like yung rice, yung fish, and other things.
Tsaka doon sa train 2, parang sa palagay ko lang,
Yeah.
bago natin ipagpatuloy yung train 2, kasi parang all hands on deck na yung gobyerno ngayon sa train 2, kailangan din natin suriin yung train 1 kasi parang ang dami nang nangyari doon sa train 1, ang dami niyang epekto, pero tapos pupunta tayo sa train 2 nang hindi natin ini-evaluate kung ano ba yung mga sanhi ng mga nangyari. For example, yung contribution sa inflation, ganyan, na maraming tanong na, for example, yung estimates ba nung contribution ng train, saan nanggaling yun? Na parang hanggang ngayon ay wala pa tayong malinaw na sagot na nakukuha sa gobyerno. So kumbaga, maganda yung train 2, maganda yung adhikain niya, at saka kailangan natin yan. Pero at the same time, kailangan hindi natin kalimutan yung train 1 kasi there's a very great risk na kapag train 2 na yung pinag-uusapan, baka makalimutan na natin yung mga issue ng train 1 na parang hayaan na lang natin sila.
Okay, so elaborate pa dun sa train 1. Ano mga dapat suruin ng mga mambabatas at this point?
Well, do strain 1, actually sa inflation, napakalaking issue nun kasi, bagamat merong ganong estimates na for yung sinasabi, 0.4 ng inflation rate nung May or June ang contribution ng train, ay hindi natin alam kung yun na lang ba talaga ang contribution ng train kasi maaring understated yun or hindi pa kasama doon, for example, yung profiteering, tsaka yung ibang klaseng resulta ng train 1. So, yung ganong level na, kasi di ba, for example, ngayon yung mga senador, congressmen, parang sila na mismo ang nagtatanong sa DOF na, bago namin ipasa tong train 2, bigyan nyo kami ng lahat ng datos, lahat ng estimates, kasi ayaw na nilang maulit yung nangyari sa train 1. So,
Tsaka election pa next
at
year.
yung pa, napakalaking...
Ayaw nila ng ganong bad press.
Oo, tsaka, so again, timing na naman to na bagamat maganda, again, yung paadikahan ng train 2, again, importante yung political aspect nito na gaano ka likely ito papasa given all these considerations and yung timing na election nga next year.
And I'd just like to add in yung isang aspeto kasi ng train 1 na sasagot dun sa concerns ng mga taong bayan is yung cash transfers dapat.
Yeah.
Yung DSWD said already that they would like to complete yung pag-distribute ng cash transfers by August or September. And masyado na late talaga yun.
Yeah.
At the start of the year pa lang dapat na-implement na yun. So, yung cash transfers kasi yearly siya. So by next year may another round of cash transfers ulit. It's important na ma-distribute natin yon ng mas maaga and i-measure din natin sapat na ba talaga yung 200 pesos. Sa initial estimates mukhang sapat na yun pero there are other concerns. So the Department of Finance or the Department of Budget and Management as well as DSWD might want to look into other mitigating measures na hindi naman cash. So something that will ease the pain sa mga poor consumers natin.
Tsaka isa pang aspect, balik ako doon sa train 1. Di ba, nung kasagsagan itong mga nakaraang buwan na sobrang taas ng inflation, biglang nagsuputan yung mga kakaibang suggestion. For example, tanggalin natin yung food. Sabi ni Agriculture Secretary Manny Pino, tanggalin natin yung food sa computation ng inflation. Or tapos sa DOF mismo, sila nag-propose na tanggalin natin yung tobacco kasi, for example, nung June yata, more than 20% ng
Yung
inflation rate ng tobacco and alcohol
So you think
products.
that's cheating?
I mean, obviously, that's cheating kasi merong international standards na sinusunod yung PSA sa pag-compute ng inflation na hindi natin basta-basta pwedeng galawin. Na parang lumalabas tuloy na nandito yung mga proposals to cheat So parang parang ang pinapadalang mensahe nun ay, naniniwala ba talaga kayo sa forecast ninyo na mababa lang ang inflationary impact ng trade, for example, na bakit kinailangan yung i-suggest ang mga bagay na ito?
I agree with that. Dapat hindi natin ine-edit yung mga inflation measures natin in the middle of the game, no? But it's important na ma-nuance din natin. Hindi natin lang titingnan yung inflation figure na 5.7 to represent everything. Iba-iba din yung inflation, yung causes ng inflation. And one example is yung tobacco inflation. Hindi naman masama yun. If the prices of tobacco are increasing, it means mas mahirap yung mga tao na bumili ng sigarilyo. So let's not
change.
So imbes na tanggalin siya sa basket of goods, maybe we can just nuance it na hindi naman masama yung pagtaas ng presyo ng tobacco, pero masama pa rin yung pagtaas ng presyo ng bigas, ng gasolina, etc. So nuancing lang yung kailangan.
Okay, kakabit ko na yun sa total nasa train na tayo, no? Layunin din ng train na pondohan yung build. Anything that you'd like to say about the build right now? Anong epekto niya sa ekonomiya? Okay pa ba? Alam nating mabagal yung pag-implement ng build. Marami ng agencies ang nagsabi na rin mismo.
Kasi for example, yung DPWH, merong COA report na nag-underspend sila ng 73 billion pesos.
At nag-incur pa
sa
sila
project,
nag-incur pa sila ng penalties dahil hindi nagamit nga yung pera na inutang nila.
Yeah, exactly. So tapos yung sa Department of Transportation, parang as much as 38.4 billion of obligated funds ang di nila na-disburse. Parang ganun. Ang daming kaso ng underspending ngayong panahon na build. So parang aminado naman tayo na yung underspending or yung difference dun sa actual na paggastos saka yung program or pinlanong paggastos. Mas malaking problema yan doon sa Aquino administration. As in, napakalaking, di ba, meron nga yung disbursement acceleration program, lahat ng mga kaso, daming nakasuhan doon. Pero, importanteng tandaan na nagpapatuloy yun ngayon. Bagamat hindi na ganun kalala, meron pa rin underspending. At habang ongoing nga yung build, maganda sana na i-address din natin yung mga salik na nagdudulot ng patuloy na pag-underspend. Katulad nung, for example, lack of absorptive capacity, yung mga maraming ahensya ng gobyerno na kahit na ilang bilyon kahit ilang bilyon ang itapon mo sa kanilang direksyon, ay hindi nila maggastos yun dahil meron silang constraints. Wala silang masyadong tao, wala silang kakayahan to implement and initiate projects. So, ganun. So, nakakalungkot lang na siguro isang dahilan yun kung bakit more than 2 years na pero wala pa rin tayo masyadong nakikitang epekto ng build.
And siguro to balance the discussion din naman, I think well-intentioned naman yung build.
Yeah.
It's something that we should be really pursuing even from the Aquino administration. Tama nga yung sinabi ni JC, yun yung main criticism, they weren't investing enough
Pero
in
kaya bang bayaran ng
infrastructure.
gobyerno yun?
Well, looking at the data, I mean, may effect naman talaga yung tax reform. For example, from January to June, 19.9% yung growth ng tax revenue natin. That means halos 20% yung paglaki ng revenue collection natin compared to last year. So that should have an effect. If you look at the national income accounts, yung construction, for example, it grew by 12.9%. So you can see that build is having an effect. Yeah. But there are many concerns, as JC said, that we have to address as well. Kailangan transparent pa rin siya, kailangan accountable pa rin siya. And at the same time, may mga other concerns as well. Yung pag-import ng intermediate goods for the build like cement.
Tapos ang weak pa ng peso.
Yes.
So paano 'yun?
Of course, that's one of the ongoing concerns talaga. It's one of the challenges that the government will have to continue to face. But think of it this way, the infrastructure drive is one of our main investments to continue the growth that we need. So, the government has to be on its feet. Syempre, hindi natin kailangan i-stop or dapat i-stop yung build, but rather, the government has to be more strategic in addressing all of these concerns.
Yung isa pang aspeto ng build ay merong direct link between build, tsaka yung paghina ng piso. Of course, maraming iba-iba, merong international factors din na nagpapahina sa piso, pero yung napakarami nating ini-import for build, mga mineral ores, for example, steel, etc. Nakaka-contribute yun sa pagtaas ng import growth. Samantalang, at the same time, yung export growth or yung paglaki ng mga in-export natin ay negative simula January hanggang ngayon.
So ba't kaya ganun? Kasi 'di ba yung assumption natin kapag weak yung peso, parang competitive siya. Yun yung mismong phrasing ni Secretary Joke tungkol doon. Pero anong nangyari?
Actually, mas nuance itong, medyo komplikado itong usapang ito kasi hindi porke humina yung piso ay actually tataas yung exports at hihina yung imports. Maaring baligtad yung epekto. Sa economics, merong tinatawag na Marshall-Lerner condition. Medyo komplikado na ito. Pero ang punto lang nito ay kapag hindi masyadong responsive yung exports at imports sa pagbabago ng presyo, kumbaga price inelastic ang exports at imports, ay kapag humina yung piso, ay maaring mag-worsen yung tinatawag na current account deficit. Current account balance. So magiging malaking deficit kahit na humihina yung piso. So kumbaga, hindi necessarily na so bagamat sinasabi ng economic managers na pag humina yung piso, competitive ang exports, actually that's not necessarily the case. At kaya natin nakikita yung negative export growth ay maring may ibang factors nga na nakaka-apekto nun.
Okay, so we don't have much time, no? Pero talagang pinipilit nating i-cover kung ano man yung mga pinag-usapan ngayong linggo. Ito pa, federalism.
Right,
Any thoughts? Anong epekto nito sa ekonomiya?
Well, I think yung uncertainty na dala ng federalism or kung ano yung proposal na pinapropose or kung ano yung paraan kung paano siya isusulong, I think that uncertainty has really contributed to why the growth isn't as high as it should be. Mataas yung growth potential natin pero hindi natin nami-meet yun because of all the issues surrounding federalism. A lot of people aren't sure ano mangyayari sa tax system natin after, ano mangyayari sa economic systems natin. Businesses aren't sure if the economy that we're talking about this year will be the same economy that we'll be talking about next year. And yung way that President Duterte is handling it has been very distracting sa mga much needed reforms na mas kailangan natin rather.
Ang nakakatawang i-note dito ay just this week ay ang laki ng resistance to economic managers sa federalism.
So Father Aquino pa nga is asking to fire Secretary Pernia and Secretary Dominguez.
Ayun nga Tapos actually very very strong ang message ng economic managers. For example, sinabi dati ni Secretary Pernia, it will wreak havoc in the economy. Tapos sabi ni Secretary Dominguez, interest rates will go to hell. So kumbaga sa kanila na mismo nanggagaling yung resistance at siguro kailangan natin pakinggan kasi syempre concerned sila dun sa finances ng gobyerno na talagang maapektuhan kapag nagpatuloy yung federalism. Kasi for example, pinopropose diba na as much as 50% ng lahat ng national revenues ay paghatian ng federated regions na tinatawag. At ngayon pa lang, actually nangangamba na sila doon sa recent Supreme Court decision na tinaasan from 40% up to, tinaasan yung sa IRA.
Internal revenue.
Internal revenue allotment. Tinaasan yung share ng mga LGUs. Kumbaga, unang-una, pinapakita nun na pwede pala natin gawin na mas maraming pondo sa regions even without charter change and federalism. Tapos pangalawa, yun nga, magdudulot yun ng, sabi nila, it will double down the government budget deficit. Budget deficit meaning mas malaki yung gastos ng gobyerno kaysa doon sa kinikita niya. Dodoble daw yun. So maraming economic aspects ito na nangangamba yung economic managers na siguro kailangan natin pakinggan.
So any panghuli, recommendations for the government?
Well, I think the government should really stop trying to distract the people from the much needed reforms.
Tulad ng?
Maraming issues na lumabas. I think, for example, yung kalalabas lang na video ni Mocha Uson, for example, really distracted people from talking about federalism in a productive way. So instead of talking about federalism, its aspects and how we can pursue it properly, na-highlight yung ibang bagay na hindi naman talaga dapat. So I think the government has a penchant for really throwing out issues when we should be focusing on economic reforms, rice tarification, yung tax reform. A lot of these things are worth pursuing, but the problem is the government might not be sending the credible signals that kaya niyang panindigan yung mga reforms na to. And if I were the government, I would really try to focus on these reforms rather than the shenanigans that are happening elsewhere.
Okay, top 3.
Top 3.
Top 3 reforms, kung magana 3 or 5.
That's hard to
okay, sige,
number one,
let's not rank.
package 2, package 2,
Okay.
Universal healthcare, and rice tarification.
Okay, JC?
I think the same. I mean, all these are good policies actually. Nakakalungkot lang na ang daming politikang nangyayari. Na for example, even federalism, this is actually quite saddening na merong merits din yung federalism na for example yung desire to actually empower the regions, to make them more self-sufficient. There's actually some merit into that. Pero nandun sa detalye lagi tayong
The devil is in the details.
the devil is in the details. Lagi nandun sa detalye na, and yung sa diskurso, I think kailangan nating, regardless kung anong policy ito, kung mabuti ba ito or masama, kailangan improve natin yung diskurso na kailangan siguro aralin natin yung mga, especially economic aspects. Kasi ang dami sa mga issue nito ay merong kinalaman sa economics. So siguro kailangan nating pagbutihin pa yung economic literacy, pag hindi sa may economic concepts, and yung diskurso, at least doon yung lagi nating tatandaan na bawat policy merong costs and benefits at lagi natin kailangang i-weigh yun.
Okay, maraming salamat sa inyong mga recommendations. Sana nanonood yung mga economic managers at mga iba pang mga nasa gobyerno sa inyong mga sa ating mga shows, sa ating inyong mga rekomendasyon. Maraming salamat, JC Punong Bayan, ang ating Rappler columnist at PhD candidate ng UP School of Economics, at AJ Montesa, researcher ng Action for Economic Reforms. Ako naman po si Ralph Rivas. Maraming salamat sa panonood ng Rappler Talk.